Hey everybody, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. In today's video, I want to talk about taking that next step from building a spec home to actually selling a home built to a customer, maybe somebody that walked through the spec home that, maybe not everything in that home was right for them, and so they want to explore building, and they like you, they like the house that you built, and so they would love to talk with you about building a home. So what do you do next? What I like to do for my sales process, the first part of it, is walk them through the model home, or in this case your spec home, and ask them questions about every room of the house that we're in. So if we're in the kitchen, what do you think about the size of this island, the shape of this island, the size of the kitchen? Are there enough cabinets? The ceiling height. So, based off of what they're standing in and feeling, they'll be able to tell you, well, I'd actually like the ceiling to be a little bit taller, and, I want my island to be at least 11 feet. I need a little more cabinet space. Well, now you know that the kitchen they want is going to be a little bit bigger than the one in your home. The ceiling height's going to be a little bit taller, so on and so forth. All right, so now we're gonna go into the living room. Again, same thing. What do you think about the where the fireplace is? What do you think about the windows? Are there enough windows? Are the ceilings high enough? Is there enough light in here? So asking those types of questions are gonna get them talking about what they want and they need. Now before you go through the house with them, you wanna have something to take notes on, and you wanna print out the floor plan for the house that you're in, because ideally you're going to be able to build a version of that model or that spec home. That's going to be the easiest process for you and for the client. They get to be in something and feel something and visualize, as opposed to just, okay, this house isn't right for us, let's just start from scratch, find something online, draw it up. They never get to stand in that house or walk through that house or get a feel for the house. In this case, they're in your model, they're in your spec home, so I think it can help them visualize more. So even though that kitchen wasn't the exact kitchen for them, they just needed the island a little bit bigger, they wanted the ceiling height a little bit more, but it's easier for them to envision that than it is just looking at something on paper. So if you print out your blueprint, your floor plan, you can then take all of these notes. And the reason that you're going to be taking these notes is, number one, so you know what they want. Number two, when it comes time to getting a plan drawn for them, you've got notes that you can give to the draftsman. Real simple markups. So your island, you've got a note on there, make 2 feet longer. Your 9-foot ceiling in the kitchen, you're going to have a note on there to make that 10 foot, so on and so forth. But it's basically going to be real easy for the draftsman to look at those notes and then redo the plan. And then number three, you're going to use those notes for pricing, and the pricing is something that you may want to or need to give to the customer before they commit to doing blueprints. In order to get blueprints drawn up, in order to get initial work like that done, you're going to need a down payment from the client, because if you get blueprints drawn up and then they walk away, well, you still have to pay that draftsman, let's say $2,500 to draft those plans. So you want to make sure to collect that deposit, and to let the client know that we need to collect the deposit, and this is the reason why. It's going to cover blueprints, it's going to cover survey work, and just the time that I'm going to start putting into this, the hours I'm going to start putting into putting pricing together and what have you. Now, before they commit to giving you a down payment, they may want to know, and at least I like to do this, because then I know for sure there's no unknowns. If they have an idea of what the price is for the house. So what I do is I tell them, I can't give you an exact price, after we walk through the house or have our first meeting, unless it's one of our models, home plans that we have base pricing for. Then I can do that. But if you're just starting off and you're kind of taking that next step, you're just starting off as a builder, you may not have your own home plans that pricing on for. And pricing, we're gonna get to that in the next little segment here. So you want to bring them through the house, take notes on what they like and they don't like, because that's going to give you enough information that you'll be able to get a plan drawn up, and it's going to give you enough information to put pricing together. And along with asking, what do you think about the size of this room and the ceiling height, you want to ask about finishes too. So maybe you're standing in the living room and you've got carpet in there and they say that they want hardwood. That would just be something you can make a note of. Hardwood's going to be more than carpet. So you want to try and get as much information as you can so that you can tell the client, okay, I can't give you an exact price after this meeting. And, in order to move forward, I'm going to need a deposit, but I'm going to give you a ballpark price on what this home build is going to cost. That way you feel comfortable giving a deposit. You're not going to give me a deposit and then I come back and give you a number that is way out of your league, and then what? You're out of deposit, you can't move forward, everybody loses there. But if I can tell you a ballpark price, and if we're at least in or close to the ballpark, then okay, let's move forward with things. Let's get a plan drawn up so that we can get an exact price and get exact numbers. Because in order to give a customer or a client an exact price on the home build, you've got to have their blueprint and their selections. Because you need a price from the framer and from the lumber company and from the window manufacturer based upon their blueprint, not your house. Because your house, your spec house, it's different. You've got things that are going to be different there. So you want to collect all that information so that you can put a ballpark price together. So then you can come back to the client, and at this point too, it was a good first meeting. You walked through the house, you talked. They don't feel like they're under any pressure, and that's one thing too that I've always practiced is low pressure. I don't pressure anybody. There's no reason to do that. I feel like I can lead people with the questions that I ask, and really just by doing good work. So if we walk through that house, this client comes, they have no expectations on moving ahead with you at this point. It's just an initial meeting. They want to explore the house, walk through the house, and by the end of the meeting, you're telling them you're going to put together a ballpark price. Again, at this point, there's no deposit that you're asking for, so it's all low pressure from them. And then it's up to you to perform, and it's up to you to put that ballpark price together and then get back to the client. All right, everybody, real quickly. So I do offer a consulting service. If you are a builder that's been a builder, or if you're just looking to get into the industry, or if you're selling new construction, anything pertaining to that, I can help you through those first steps of, what do I need to do from right now, where I'm sitting at my current job, to start building a spec home and to become a home builder. So that's what my service is all about. We can have phone calls. These phone calls are usually pretty in-depth. You can get all your questions answered, and we can, have phone calls for as long as you need to. If you're interested, I've got more information in the description below. So in order to move them to the next step in the sales process, you need to come back with that ballpark price. And then you can set up another meeting with them and go over that pricing. So that's kind of, now you're moving them along. So at the last meeting, it was low key, no pressure, and this one's going to be too. This one's going to be low key and no pressure as well. But once you get into the second meeting and say you put that ballpark pricing together quickly, they're impressed with how fast you got back to them. Now they're coming back to the house to meet again. You're doing some more bonding. You're going over the pricing. A lot of times they're going to ask you, what's the next step? All right, well, the next step is, so they're okay with the budget range. They're okay with the ballpark, which is great. It's amazing because now they're telling you, yeah, you know what? That's in my ballpark. That's in my price range. Now you know that this is real. As long as I just keep bringing them through the steps, this is what they're expecting. It's not out of their price range. Oh, let's rewind real quick. So just to make sure that, it is truly in their budget range, they're going to tell you that it is, but you need to verify and ask them, hey, have you met with any lenders yet? And have you been pre-approved at all? Because, they may say one thing, but if they haven't been pre-approved or they've got bad credit and they can't get a loan, then it's all for none. And that's something that you need to know pretty much right off the bat so you're not wasting time. So when they ask what the next step is, those might be some of the sweetest words that you ever hear as a home builder or a new construction salesperson, because they're pretty much saying, okay, I'm ready to move forward with you. What do we do next? And it's just, at that point, especially if you're just starting off and maybe this is your first customer, I mean, that's just, fireworks going off inside. So now you're going to tell them, well, in order to, the next step is getting the preliminary plan drawn up. So I'm going to need a deposit, because we're going to have to pay the draftsman to do that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get that preliminary plan back. We're going to verify that everything's good on there. We can still make changes, adjustments, but now we've got our own starting point for a plan. So if this is based off of a model or a spec home that you're building and there were a lot of changes and things like that, now this preliminary plan is a new starting point, a new plan. So now this is what we're going to work off. We can see and verify what the square footage is, what the ceiling heights are. We can verify that the things that we wanted to do are going to work. And so once we get that back, it's a good starting point. Now, if we get it back and everything's good on it and we can just move forward with the full set of blueprints, that's what we're going to do. But even if there are little adjustments that we need to make, we can still do that too. But what we want to do is get to the point where we've got a full set of working blueprints, so then I can take that and I can get exact numbers for every little part and piece to that house. Then I can tell you exactly how much it's going to be to build the house. Now, the other thing that goes along with that, and this is definitely a good thing to implement and practice, is as soon as you get the preliminary plan, if there are not big changes with certain things, they can start to do some of their selections. Maybe pick out their fireplace stone, their exterior stone, their side. There's certain things that you can get started with doing selections. And then once you get the full set of blueprints back with all the dimensions and all of the detail, then they can meet with the flooring company, the cabinet company. They can do all of their selections. So along with you getting numbers from your framer, the lumber company, the electrician, now you've got all the exact things that they want to do. They've picked their exact countertop, their exact flooring. So these aren't just like guesstimates that, I'm going to put in, $6,000 for the countertop. Well, the countertop that they chose is going to be $4,750. So that's the exact amount that you can put in there. So then once they've chosen all of their selections and you've got pricing back from those vendors, and then you've got all of your numbers back from your framer, lumber company, window supplier, door supplier, now you've got an exact number. So now there are no surprises for the customer, there are no surprises for you. There's no, one of the things that customers will say the most, and say this about builders, and this is kind of the reputation that builders have, is they'll give a price, and then once construction starts, this is an upgrade, that's an upgrade. So you'll hear a lot of people say, be prepared to spend, $25,000 to $50,000 more than what the original prices that they give you. And that's insane. I mean, that means that if you get a construction loan for X amount of dollars, and then you do have $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 in overages, that comes out of your pocket, because once you have the construction loan, your financing is locked in. So once you've got that final pricing, you can now put the building agreement together, and you're ready to give their lender all the blueprint and the building agreement. And then 30 to 45 days, they're going to be closing on the construction loan. You're going to be starting pretty soon. Now, yes, there are a lot of little things that go. It's not just that cut and dry. You get the blueprints, you get it priced, you get the building agreement, and you move forward. Now, every customer is going to be different. One customer may have a lot. It may be a real simple, easy lot. There's a grading plan, a plat, rectangle. The house is going to fit, no problem. Next customer may have a lot in the woods and it's sloped and we don't know if there's sewer or what. There's things that, to be a good full service builder, and again, this will help with your reputation too. If you can help the customer navigate that. So if they're looking at a lot that they want to purchase and it's not a simple lot, there's a lot of question marks and things like that. I mean, those are things that you need to know as a builder as well. So say somebody's looking at a lot and it's located off of a street and it's not in a subdivision, so it doesn't have sewer and water stubbed to the lot. Well, you need to know, you need to get a quote from your excavator or whoever. How much is it going to be to get sewer and water from where it is, which maybe it's on the other side of the street. So that means you've got to cut the road open to run sewer and water across. How much is it going to be to do that? Well, that could be, you know, $30,000 to do that, as opposed to a normal sewer and water hookup, which is 2 to 3. So along with getting all of your prices for the house, you do want to make sure you've got the proper site improvements as well. You know, what are permit costs, sewer and water hookup costs? Actually, is this a lot that maybe requires a septic system and a well? So you want to make sure you're getting all of the numbers for their site improvements too. So again, you're not getting into a situation where they're closed on the construction loan, they've got their price, and then you go to start and, you know, you tell them, hey, you know, it costs $12,000 to hook up to the sewer and the water. I only had $2,000 budgeted in. Well, at that point, it's not easy to get 10 grand from them since it's coming out of their pocket. So if those are things that you know ahead of time, it helps not only you, it helps the customer as well. So those are some of the things to keep in mind. Let's go back to putting the ballpark price together. How do you do that? Well, if the house is going to be based upon the model or the spec home that you're walking the customer through, you know what the price is for that house. You should have a budget, you should have all of your numbers, you should know, you know, what your overhead's going to be, but what the exact cost is to build that house. So you can then take the cost of that house, and if, you know, you've got all these notes, add another window in the master bedroom. Okay, let's add $500 to the total. Make the ceiling height a foot higher in the kitchen. Okay, let's add, you know, $2.50 a square foot for that, $2.50 a square foot for that. They want the fireplace to be on the center wall in the living room instead of in the corner. That means there's going to be more stone on the sides. You've got returns, so another $1,000 for stone. So you're going to use that spec or model as a base and then add on to that. Now, with what's happening in the world today, September 21st, 2020, things are crazy right now when it comes to materials and cost and building costs. So your spec home that you're finishing right now is drastically different. If you were going to build or duplicate that same home, it could be $25,000 to $30,000 more just because of the lumber. So don't just take your pricing and use that as a base. You need to go back and rebid that plan. And you don't have to rebid everything, you know, but right now, today, you're going to want to rebid anything that has, you know, cabinets, the lumber, the trusses, siding. Those are all things you're going to want to have accurate bids for, because if you give somebody a ballpark price, and it's, you know, part of it is based upon the lumber bid that you got 6 months ago or 7 months ago, things are a lot different now. So if you don't have a revised price for your house and you give somebody a ballpark and you're like $30,000-$40,000 off, so you give somebody the ballpark and yeah, it's in the ballpark, let's move ahead, let's, you know, what's the next step? Everything's going great, and then you actually bid their house out and you get all the exact numbers and you're way over what your ballpark was. That's not good for you, and that could kill the deal. So when you give somebody the ballpark, you want to estimate and give them a little bit of a higher number, because you don't know how things are gonna pan out in the future, and it gives you a little bit of cushion. And how great would it be if you could give somebody a ballpark and come back to them and it's actually a little bit less? They would never expect that. I mean, that would be a story that they would tell their friends. But you don't want to be way off on the low end. If you give somebody a price and then you come back and get the exact numbers and you're, you know, $50,000, $60,000 higher than your ballpark, well, that's out of their ballpark now, and that may kill the deal. So those are the next steps. If you just finished a spec home, maybe you're going to be meeting with somebody at your spec home, you're wondering how to get a customer build, what that first meeting should look like, what we should first be doing, that's what you do. All right, well, let me know if you've got any questions. I hope you found this this video helpful, useful. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribing, and if you've got anybody that you know in this industry, please feel free to share. Thanks for your time. God bless.